We're just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to come in and join.
Well, hey, we'd like to welcome everyone for joining us today at the at Lab Day. I'm Jim Deere. I'm the North American Dental Manager for 3D Systems and NextDent, and I'm proud to present Adrian Slevin from our applications group to present our solutions here today. We're going to hold questions until the end. Unless you'd like to type anything into the chat window, and then I can bring those up with Adrian. And we'd also invite you all to join us at our virtual trade booth afterwards if you want to continue the discussion. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Adrian Slevin, and thank you all for coming.
So I sure wish I was with you guys live. It was a fun year last year, but I guess this will have to do. I'm going to go ahead and start this presentation. I'm not going to spend too much time introducing myself. I'm a dental technician. I've been a dental tech for 18 years in a Crown and Bridge laboratory, full service, helped digitize every department as I moved forward. And then I came to join 3D Systems after the release of the NextDent printer. So today, I'm actually going to cover two of our technologies. We have a large portfolio of dental technologies. However, these are the two that I'm most excited about and would like to introduce you to. So I'm going to go ahead in presentation mode here. So today I'm going to introduce you to the NextDent 5100 and the ProJet 2500. So the first part of this presentation is going to be talking about what makes the NextDent unique, what's the cost to run it, why I find it to be a different technology than anything I've ever used in my experience in the dental world, and really what makes it unique, and a little bit of how it runs too. I'd like you to really get an understanding of what you're looking at when you start the printer and things like that. So if you don't know anything about our 3D Systems Figure 4 technology, it actually started here with this large machine, and everybody's always wanted to have that awesome quality, high throughput, and things like that. But nobody really can fit this in unless you're a huge manufacturer into their dental office or dental laboratory. So that gave us the entry into dental 3D printing. We need that reliability. We need that type of technology, the small supports and the high throughput. And so with the acquisition of NextDent, we were able to make the NextDent 5100 printer totally based and revolving around the NextDent materials. We were able to get super high speeds from that because we made it with the NextDent material in mind. Unparalleled accuracy, and I'm going to go through why it's higher accuracy than what you're experiencing now if you have a printer. The reliability of this thing and repeatability, every time you get your parts out, it's always going to be the same. That was one of the things that stood out the most to me in the dental industry. Was I would get about a maybe 90% reliability, 80%, sometimes less reliability. And when I started using this printer in my lab, we couldn't believe how it never failed. It's extremely cost effective. There's no recurring fees. It has a really long lasting resin tray. And that's it. There's no calibration. So your labor is very far down, very little labor post-processing and things like that. And NextDent has the broadest portfolio of biocompatible materials on the market. The full workflow is completely validated, so it makes it easy. So when you bring something into your office, there's a huge learning curve all the time. You're going digital, it's intimidating. What we did was we partnered with the most experienced dental people in the industry. That includes intraoral scanning, regular tabletop scanning, the largest CAD software providers. And what we did was we, with them, validated this full workflow so that way we know when things come out of CAD, we know what settings you need to use in your CAD. You know what scanning techniques and things like that. And with that full workflow, giving it to you on the table, having all those settings in there already, it's plug and play. So let's talk a little bit about the hardware. It's made in the United States, right here in South Carolina. It's 3-step installation. You're going to get it on a pallet. You plug it in, you install your software, and you're ready to go. No calibration. I've wasted years of my life calibrating, or I've paid really expensive calibration fees to have people come in and do my calibration, things like that. We calibrate every printer as it comes out of the manufacturing. And then the computer monitors that light, so you don't have to worry about the build plate accuracy and things like that. It has 2 to 4 more times the throughput of what you may be experiencing now or what other printers have on the market. And it has high accuracy that doesn't fade over time. I'm talking 8 to 10 years of life with extremely high accurate parts, which is also very unique. One-handed operation, you don't have to worry about parts coming in and having to screw the build plate in just right and things like that, the leveling and all of that, it's all done, right? So it's all magnetic. I'm going to show you a quick video about that. It has the lowest overhead cost. Your resin tray is going to last you about 1,700 builds. That's in a regular lab. It's about a year and a half, and that's all day printing, everyday printing. And our partners offer a 48-hour swap program. They're all able to repair any part on the printer, and you won't be out of a printer. If something happens, you don't have to send it back to the manufacturer. You don't have to send it across the world. So we can trust that you can, and some of our resellers actually offer printing. So if something goes wrong like that, the good thing is there's only one moving part on the printer. So there's not a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a couple of different ways that you can set your printer up. So if you're short on space, like this doctor here on the left, he went ahead and just built himself a little area because he's in New York, so he didn't have a lot of space. And it's actually fun for the patients to watch 3D printing because it's really cool, right? And then if you just have a table, you can use the pedestal, and you can fit everything that you need within a 6-foot area or less, right? This is including post-processing, drying, trimming, all of that. Or if you run a lab, right? We're in the world's biggest labs. And you can see that you can, the pedestals are on wheels. They have storage underneath them. You don't need exhaust. You don't need specialized networks, things like that. All you need is your network cable and a plug, a regular standard plug. And you can interlock them with those pedestals. Or if you'd like to set it on a countertop, that's perfectly fine too, as you can see on the right. A little bit about our software. It's really great because I don't know if you guys are doing CAD design or not, but when software crashes, it drives you freaking nuts, right? Or when it puts out a bad file, things like that. The great thing about the software is we actually own the software company, okay? We make the software. We make the software for the printer, we make the printer, and we make the material. So everything talks very well together. There's no annual fees. We do have a whole team working on this. So there are regular updates. So we're always making it better. We don't just drop this printer and then leave it and forget it, right? We're always making it better for you. And whenever we're developing new materials, when we release these materials, we automatically update you. You don't need anything new. We develop everything for what you've already purchased. A little bit more detail about the software. Auto placement, auto support. You don't have to check your slices. You don't have to check overhanging areas and surface quality areas and things like that. you don't have to modify your supports, which is great. Super fast slicing, so there's no long calculation times. It's about 15 seconds. And then anti-aliasing, which you don't actually need to know what it is, but I'm going to show you a couple pictures and you'll be able to see that we don't have like that over-processed look or under-processed look. You don't see the pixels on our parts and you don't see a ridiculously smooth surface. We're able to use our software team to get the best anti-aliasing in the market. All of this makes less chance of failure, right? So sometimes you send your parts to the printer and then it has a slicing error and it's just missing part of the parts and you couldn't have done anything about it. These are perfect slices missing. Now, let me show you what is so great about the software that you don't have to pay a technician to sit and nest all day, okay? We tried to make it as plug and play as possible. So this way, all you have to do is choose your printer, choose your material, and choose the type of part. You're going to bring in your parts and you can drag and drop them. And as you can see, we do have a lot of buttons, but there's really only 3 that you're going to use as a beginner. But if you're like to fiddle with CAD software, you can do a whole lot in this software. Then you're going to hit auto place and you're going to hit smart support. Now you can see that you can actually print. I zoomed in there because I wanted you to see how close you can print and get away with it, right? So this is going to be a great print. I print this thing all the time. And you can really nest these things tight. So I get to fit a lot more parts in here. Now you can use hotkeys and things like that if you are a CAD person and you like to do that. We don't keep it so simple or dumbed down, I should say, and give you 0 options. You're able to let the software grow with you, okay? But in the beginning, you'll just bring everything in and do that, but there's a lot of different fun things you can do, and I wish I had more time to show you those. But let's show you something really cool. Now this thing would take you quite some time to do if you're doing this manually. Let's say that you have 25, 35 models to print for one case, orthodontic models, perio models, aligner models, things like that. I brought in 40 parts here. This lab trims their parts very short because they want quick prints on their other printer. When I showed them this, they were like, holy cow, you bring in solid models labeled, and our software does all of the nesting, all of the hollowing, keeps the teeth filled, all of the supporting with one button. Okay, so all I did was bring them in, hit create stacks, and hit apply. And before you ask, which I'm sure you're going to, is it as accurate at the top as it is at the bottom? Yes, we wouldn't release it if it wasn't. We did a ton of testing. It took us a year to figure out exactly how we needed to support this, what would make it the easiest for the customer to break apart, clean, things like that. We've got these little feet on the bottom. You can clean these all in single stacks. Those little supports on the lingual do not cause any scarring at all. They peel right off. There's a video that we've got that shows the entire process. I encourage you to check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. And that's nesting. Okay, that's how long it took to nest 40 models. That's an hour and 54-minute print. Okay, the max level is 2 hours. So you can get, depending on the width of the arch and the height, and if you've got a bigger base or something like that, you may fit less, 18 models or something like that, depending on how your technicians trim. But that takes all of the guesswork out of it and completely automates it. People forget to show nesting. And to me, that's one of the biggest parts because you actually have to sit there and physically do it. And why not take that work out of it? So starting the printer, what's it look like? I like to show this because not everybody understands how the printer works or how you change out the resin. So you can see that we have our resin tray and there's a tension arm right there. And if you want to change out your resin, you can use the same tray for all of your resins. If you're going to print more than one resin a day, I would just get another resin tray and you just switch it out by pushing the button and letting the arms come up. And you do pour in the material. You only need 50 grams in there to run the printer, which is pretty cool because you can use it to the last drop. Okay, and I've already sent the parts to the printer. That was the job I nest and send. Okay, so you're going to keep that bottle. We've got a fully validated workflow, which means we're trying to decrease any type of user error and also maintain an FDA compliance cleared workflow. So you scan your bottle and then it asks you, did you clean your plate? Did you stir your resin? And did you fill it? and then you'll just check off those 3 boxes and hit Start Printer. Now, let's talk a little bit about the materials. So we've got 10 indications, 24 materials. Like I said, we've got large teams of people. We make all the material. So keep your eyes peeled for new things because we're always working. Our teams are working really hard on everything to add to your portfolio. So you can see, I'm not going to go through all of the materials on here, but you've got your models, temporaries, castables. You've got your surgical guides and splints. You can do night guards, try-ins, dentures, custom trays, and gingiva mask, okay? If you want a benchmark, please contact us. I'm gonna give you my email address at the end, and you can also go to our booth and get our information as well. Now, for ortho and perio models, if you wanna do single level builds, you certainly can. If you see this top ortho build here, it's about 30 minutes for one level, okay? You can do your diagnostic models, just like you did your other diagnostics with plaster. You can actually put floor wax on there. You can polish it, put a little resin on there and cure it. But you get a nice smooth surface just like you would have before, and the doctor has no problem temporizing over that. Prosthodontic models with your gingiva mask. Everything here that you see takes between 20 and 40 minutes for a one plate build. And by the way, just a tidbit of information, it's about $1.80 to $3 per model, depending on how you trim it and if you hollow it. And then for your nesting, for your stacking, you can do up to 40 models in 2 hours. That is if you trim them like I showed you the other one. This is 24 models, so it depends on, like I said, how thick the models are. Crown and Bridge MFH is one of my favorite materials, so I always like to introduce it and give a little more information. It's about 45 to 60 cents a unit, and it takes 15 minutes to do a whole plate. Now I say 40 minutes because if you're going to do your all on fours or anything like that, you're going to print it like a monoblock, then it could take up to 40 minutes. We have 6 shades, and I'll show you a couple things that other people are doing. So you can do your long-term temps. It's cohesive, so you can bond it, you can cement it, you can add some gradia to it, and pick it up chair side with some acrylic. And you can see that these types of things you wouldn't even be able to mill because they're too tall, but you could print them in 40 minutes. So save your mill for your zirconia, for your metal, things like that. And meanwhile, you can be printing either chair side or you can be printing it in office. For a mill, it would take you, 20 minutes per unit. For this, you could do up to 75 crowns in one build, right, for 15 minutes. So there's certain ways that you can help use your mill and get more capacity with a smaller printer, or like a printer like this, a smaller solution. You can also do custom healing caps, which is all the rage right now, and doesn't take long to do, and the tissue is very accepting of this material. It really likes it. If you talk to some of the oral surgeons that are using it, they absolutely love it. They say it generates tissue growth like crazy. And then our Denture 3D Plus. One of my favorite products is making the dentures, printing the base at the same time, because I went and trained somebody and they couldn't believe how easy it was, right? It was an orthodontic lab. And they couldn't believe that they could print these two, put them together with some resin and polish them that easy, right? There's 5 shades. They're stronger than the standard dentures, 2 to 4 arches in about 40 to 60 minutes, depending on how you position them. And it's real simple assembly. I'll show you something here next. And you can reline it and repair it. There's a couple of techniques that we'll show you how to do if you decide to get into digital dentures. So you'll print your teeth and your base, and then you'll put some resin in the tooth pockets. You'll put your teeth together. And this is, if you can see, the surface quality on here is incredible. And I didn't have to fit these teeth at all, okay? You just peel off, rub off those supports. And I'm gonna show you a couple pictures of those supports. And then you just fill in the cracks and you put it in your cure oven together, and it creates a monolithic bond, because when they come out of the printer, they're not fully cured, okay? They're 80% cured. So if you add resin and you put them together, it actually finishes the curing process. And then you can polish it. You can use some light cure glaze on it. And you can do some extra characterization if you want, with most of the light cure glazes on the market. So if you're already using something, go for it. You can keep using that same type of material. Then we have our surgical guides as well, and it actually changes shading. So if you're already using the printer, then you're probably familiar with this, but if you're not, you'll see it comes out like a light yellow, Once it's post-cured, it gets like this amber hue to it. And then after you sterilize it, it loses that amber hue and regains some of that translucency. So you can make sure it's seated all the way. Everything that we have is post-processed the same way. There's no extra things you need to buy, no extra ovens for your dentures, nothing like that. Every single product, you can use your existing ultrasonic for 5 minutes with alcohol. You can dry it with air and then put it in the cure oven. No special things. Once you've got these 3 things, you're good to go. So what makes figure 4 technology unique, right? I find it very unique comparative to all the other things I've used because I'm not constantly throwing away resin trays. My resin tray lasts a long time. It expires. I can use it for everything else too. It doesn't like fog up, so I'm not strategically nesting, okay? And I'm saving material from printing the things that I could be milling. And the resin tray is made of aluminum, so you can recycle it when it's used up. It also enables you to use very thin parts, okay? So we have very, very thin parts. We can print 1.5 millimeter model walls, prints very fast without the warping that you would have with other things. It also doesn't break when you try to chisel it off the build platform because we have a perforated build platform, so you can just twist them off. And it creates no delamination and less build failures because there's less adhesive forces, okay? Because that oxygen permeable membrane keeps things from having strong sucking adhesion every time it comes down, okay? It doesn't actually come in contact with it. And it's less labor intensive for removing. You guys all know this video if you've come to my courses before. I always show what you're dealing with now, chiseling things away, and this is why you have to have such thick model walls. That's why you've got to have really thick supports if you're going to put them on supports. It's because of all of this chiseling away. But this is what it's like to do figure 4. So basically, you just pull everything off and you rub off the supports, every single one. Okay? And that's how it is to remove everything. And then you put it in your alcohol. So what else does it do for you? It saves you a ton of material. It saves you grinding time and recontouring time when it comes out. I mean, some of these things need so much support material that it's more than the part you're even printing. It also allows you to do things like veneers and stuff like that without having to make them thicker just to print. So if you look closely here, you can see that there's just pinpoint little tips. And we're able to do that because of this perforated build platform. It doesn't suck onto that membrane, and also because of the oxygen permeable membrane. Okay, between those two things, we're able to have very, very thin supports and very, very thin parts. And it gives you a superior surface quality. So you can see I printed this bridge for a friend of mine, and he put it on this model, and his printer costed about 3 times as much as ours. And I couldn't believe the amount of pump lines and layer lines and peeling and all kinds of things going on. So all of those figure 4 attributes that we have get rid of things like that. And it also gives you nice smooth surface. So like I said, you can polish your model, you can throw a little light cure on there. But if you look real closely at this one on the right, this one on the left is from the NextDent, the one on the right is from something else. And if you look closely, you have a lot of little rough edges all over the place. And if you send this to a doctor to temporize on it, he's got all this cleanup to do, and you can't clean it up without changing the actual geometries. So that is the fully integrated solution for the NextDent 5100. I could show you hours more of fun stuff, but I'm going to move on to the 2500 because we have a few more minutes. So 2500 is growing to be one of my favorite printers as well. And it's not to take the place of the 5100, okay? But it is something that you might find very interesting as you're increasing your capacity and you're looking for other things. And let's say you only need one thing to print and you don't need that fast turnaround time like the 15-minute. Let me show you all about it. So it has versatile class 6 materials, okay? Really good for RPD frameworks. And it's really nice because the indications can be used for several different things. You can do clear surgical guides, and we've got white biocompatible models as well. So let me show you a little bit about it. This is what it looks like in a lab, and this is Dental Arts. They use 7 NextDent printers, and they also use their 2500. And they use this for all their partial frameworks. They want to put them all on the same plate. They love the jetting technology. And they also use it for pressable crowns, their high accurate models, and they can just let it run. Let me show you. It has a large build platform. It's 11.5 inches by 8 inches, and then it has a Z-axis of 5.5 inches. It has 3 lane options. So on this plate right here, you see 288 crowns, 4 bridges, 9 partial frameworks, and we could have fit more on there. I just wanted to show an idea of what it looks like. This would take about 4 hours and 30 minutes, excuse my typo. And each lane is about an hour and a half. Okay, and let's look at nesting. So I'm going to make this, turn this volume off here. So you'll choose your material again, just like you saw on the other one. And the great thing is 3D Sprint fuels all of the all of the 3D Systems printers. So, and you can see I have a ton of parts. And you don't have to think about so much what's on the top and what's on the bottom, because they're all fully supported in wax, and there's no like, it's a different technology, right? It's a jetting technology. So it's completely supported with wax, okay? But it's not completely encapsulated by the wax. So when you go to clean them, all you do is melt them off, melt the support off. And it gets extremely high detail. So that means the surface detail is super smooth and the anatomic detail is very, very smooth. It's biocompatible. So if you wanted to try in your RPD framework before you cast it, you want to do your try-in for your denture, things like that, you could certainly get creative with it. And it has unbeatable accuracy, between 20 and 50 microns, depending on which part, but this is an insane accuracy. So I thank you for your time. I'm 3 minutes early, which is awesome. Here's our information. If you're interested in purchasing or you have some dental application questions, please stop by our booth. We've got our ProX 800. So if you're looking at, hundreds and hundreds of models a day, and we've got our information on that there as well. And feel free to drop us some questions. You guys can get a hold of me on the social media platforms and all of us, and be sure to check out our videos and stuff like that. So thank you very much. And we still have 2 minutes.
Yep. Hey, Adrian, we had a quick question for how do you dispose of alcohol?
Oh, that's a good question. So basically you can just have somebody come and pick it up, like your hazardous waste. Make sure that, so what I do is I actually reuse my alcohol a lot. I recycle it. If you use a ton of alcohol, you can buy a recycler, and that'll save you quite a bit. That depends on how much you actually buy and if it's worth the investment. But usually you just get your hazardous waste just like you would with resin and residue, like your support structures and things like uncured material. So you can call your waste management and they'll help you. And it evaporates, little hint. So any other questions that I can answer?
Can IPA be recycled using a simple distiller?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I've purchased actual IPA recyclers, so you might want to do some research on that.
Well, the answer to that's yes. It needs to be filtered, and then a distiller will redistill it down to its original strength. We do have a distiller company that we've worked with in the past, but it's a much larger solution and probably too big for a small dental office.
I will say that I like to conserve alcohol, so I use my dirty bath a lot. So what I do is I dump it back into my IPA bottles, and then I let it settle, and then I take the top alcohol and dump it back into my first bath again. And I keep doing that until I know I can't use it, and then I use it. If you check out my cleaning models on YouTube, how to clean models, I actually show a little bit of that. I end up using it in my vat for where I punch my tray too. So you can use it a lot of times as long as you let all the resin settle to the bottom and just take the top alcohol.
Well, and that brings us to the end of our time here. We want to thank everyone for joining us, and then also encourage you to stop by our virtual booth. There's a link in the chat section here, and we're happy to answer any questions. Adrian or I can hopefully answer any questions you might have or continue our discussion there. Barcode, can I use third resin? Basim, you're asking, we'll answer that one offline if I understand it. But again, thanks to everyone for joining us here today.
And please try to join us tomorrow. We've got a really cool, exciting presentation with Brian Linke and Dr. Curie on the full workflow, implant workflow. They do bone reduction guides, they do conversions chairside. He's got a high-end lab and a doctor. They're going to introduce us to that workflow on the NextDent as well. So anyway,
all right,
have a good one,
thanks
everybody.
Everyone.